Oh, hi everyone. Um, I'm just doing this really off the top of my head because something has kind of escalated. Sorry, I have no makeup on this morning, but I don't really care. Um, Story that has kind of unfolded in the past week. I just wanted to put my own, not that I've got an audience or anything like that, but I had some thoughts about it. So the New Palestine train derailment in New Palestine, Ohio, that was a catastrophic train derailment accident that had vinyl chloride in, like, I think over 5 tankers. Um, so, I've been watching this story kind of unfold. And when I first heard about this accident, I heard Palestine. And so I looked up Palestine, and there's a Palestine or Palestine, Ohio, west of Dayton. And that's a little closer to where we live. And so I was more immediate, like, oh, wow, that's really close, a really tiny little area. But then later I found out, oh, no, it's New Palestine. So, which doesn't, I feel sorry for the people who live in that area. It's horrific. Um, and I've watched as this, kind of paying attention to the story. And sometimes when you're not constantly paying attention day by day by day to a story and listening to it unfold, you kind of lose track of really what's kind of going on. And a lot of times that's by design. You're busy, you've got this, so you don't really know what information is 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 coming out, things after the accident, and then it extended, I think, like to 5 miles or 10 miles, and that was on for a few days, and then a couple of days ago, I said it's all safe. You can go back. The injunction been rescinded. You can go back to your homes. And I thought, okay, that's odd. And they were talking about, there was this uh, these news conferences about, oh, we've got this vinyl chloride, which is this really really horrific toxic chemical. And they were talking about they were going to do a slow release into the environment because they didn't want these things to explode, and they were talking about possibilities of explosion, and then it just could be really really bad, right? So they're like, well, we're going to do a slow leak of this substance into the environment, and that's safer, right? And then a few days after that, it's so safe, you can go back to your homes. So over the last 24 hours or so, I have heard, um, I've seen a lot more, actually seen video footage of what is actually going on. And apparently, in the waterways around New Palestine, there's already dead fish and wildlife. Okay, dead birds, dead fish. So it's already in the waterways. And Erin Brockovich is gotten involved, and she's telling people, she's like, do not wait and don't trust the authority figures to tell you what to do. You, the individual citizen, needs to go out and take care of yourself. If you feel sick or you don't feel safe, you get to safety. Don't rely on some government official to tell you that, oh, it's okay, it's all right, And that's kind of what I'm kind of re-sharing that message, because it is really frustrating. I mean, this is not the first walk around the park, right? If I said that right. We know how these stories evolve, right? Number one, there had been warnings about the possibility of a train disaster in this area, train accident, etc. Maintenance has not been consistent or continually done. Just things have just gotten really, really lax. This is a story that we hear over and over and over again until, gee, there's a disaster. Oh no. I remember there was some tankers on the, I guess it was the Ohio River. Might have been the Ohio River. Might have been the Kanawha River. I don't remember. And there were these big tankers. I don't remember what was in them. And they leaked and it got into the waterways. And people had to boil water and people had to like get buy bottled water and everything like that. And it's kind of like the reports were that there were no regulatory oversight of this. Like they hadn't really had any regulatory oversight. I mean, there's stuff in place, but no one was paying attention to them. And no one was doing the job that was supposed to be done because funding cuts, because of regulatory capture by industry, that is basically taking control of the EPA and other local environmental organizations, and there's no money for them, and these corporations are self-regulating and self-monitoring until these things happen, and they think that they can continually just push over the public. And apparently I heard, and again, I understand that news is changing and that some of the information may be incorrect, so please due diligence. I mean, this is an unfolding story, so I'm not saying that my information is 100% true, but I will say I am encouraging people to be more cautious than less cautious because this is a very, very serious issue, like a lot of things that have been serious. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but it's getting so aggravating because the stuff happens on too far of a regular basis. And we shouldn't become complacent to it. We need to start like saying, this is ridiculous. Why are these companies, why are we allowing these accidents to just happen? What is going on with the regulation of these chemicals? What is going on with the regulation and the maintenance of our trains and water? I mean, this is people are talking about it, but it's not, nothing's being done. Okay. And so I'm just adding my voice for whatever it's worth because I do care about the environment, right? I mean, like we all should. We should all care about our environment, even though there's already forever chemicals all over the place. But allegedly, and this is what I don't know if it was accurate, that the train company, and I guess I could try and find a, uh, was it Western, Southern? Um, uh, basically, what it was that they, hold on, hold on. I'm looking this up just to see. I saw it, and that's what, um, okay. This is Norfolk Southern. That's the train thing. Is giving, um, yeah, is giving $25,000. 25, this is on Yahoo, which I'm just, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually the number, but is giving $25,000. $25,000 to an Ohio town where it caused a life or death evacuation. This is on a thing called, but it's on Yahoo. That's what that is. Has offered, it's offered a $25,000 donation to assist the area's nearly 5,000 residents who were ordered to evacuate their homes or face death. $25,000. I'm sure that number will be demanded to be raised, and well, it should. So, the other alarming thing, and again, I'm going to say this, I watch a lot of TikTok videos, okay? And I know TikTok has gotten a lot of bad press because of China and everything like that. But ironically, I get a lot of important information from them. Um, and so this is where I was getting a lot people that are doing like firsthand video footage, etc. And it's coming through my feed. And um, one of the more alarming things was that someone who is doing this, she was talking about that, they the train and the authorities were talking about the problems with the air quality, and that people were kind of focusing on the air quality, but they weren't really saying much about the spill into the waterways. And this person was pointing out that the Ohio River Basin covers 3 states. And this is something I wasn't really cognizant of. It's not something that you really pay attention to. You may learn it in school, you may whatever. Um, and so I was like, "Whoa, that's covering 3 states." Like, the extent of the way this water can flow over 3 states, okay? And we live in an area that has the East Fork of the Little Miami River, and we have a house on the Little Miami River, okay? And it's just like I think about this because I think we all become very numb to this information. When a big disaster happens, uh, we become very numb to it. And I know that it's really hard to get up and go, what now? There's something really horrific that we have to attend to. And so, and I get that. And I would normally, if something happened in Texas, I wouldn't be as immediately concerned about it. I would have been like, that's horrific because this stuff happens so often, happens all over the world, right? And then nothing ever changes. So this is a little bit closer to home. And I figured, well, I'll go ahead and put my word out. And basically, what I wanted to say, and this is, there was someone interviewed Erin Brockovich. And if you don't know who Erin Brockovich is, she had a movie called Erin Brockovich. And it basically was about environmental safety standards of a waterway. It's a movie. You can Google it. I won't go into it. Anyway, she's a notable environmental activist. Anyway, she basically said, and she was very correct, is that for the people in that area, that they need to take responsibility and get out of the situation and take care of their health. That they should not be listening to authorities telling them it's safe, and that they need to start figuring out how to test the water, uh, documenting it. And she said that if you see something, say something. And so this is what I'm going to say, what I'm hoping, if you're even seemingly far away, to test the water. I mean, because the EPA is not necessarily going to really tell you this, because the EPA has been regulatory captured. And there was something about recently about how the EPA has done reports, but they're always kind of like held back, or someone's in the EPA has got a thumb on what they do and what kind of stuff. I live, in a city that has an EPA office. I remember when the EPA office, it was a big federal building, right, opened, and you think, oh, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, they're always looking out for us. They're not anymore. They've been so regulatory captured, meaning basically corporations have taken over that agency, that government agency, and control what studies are going to be performed, what information is going to be released, etc. And so you can't rely on them because they have been taken over by corporate America. And um and so you can't rely on them. I think there's still people probably in that agency that still are trying to fight the good fight. Um but I know that there's probably some local agencies, but I would say, figure out how to just basically, speak up, pay attention, and this stuff's got to stop at some point. And it's it's funny. I don't honestly know what vinyl chloride is used for, what products it's in. It's just problematic that our civilization has gotten to a point where we just feel so helpless. Like we're being kind of carried along. And after 3 years of pandemic, where we were told things that may or may not be true, it is really frustrating. Like who can you trust? Who, uh, being accused of being a fear monger because you're going, wait, that doesn't sound right, or that I don't trust that. That I'm feeling sick. I mean, I've heard stories from people, and I'm sorry I may get my channel silenced, but I've had people who have had a certain substance put into them, because they were told that they need to do that, and from doctors and patients, they have been gaslighted and told things that are not true. And they're basically discouraged from questioning. They're told by authorities to trust us. They're told by authorities not to question, to kind of keep it silent. They bury data under the rug. This is all really problematic. And I read, like, and another group that I'm on that is related to diabetes. I see a lot of people who have been diagnosed with diabetes who are, I'm sorry, woefully ignorant of their own bodies. And this one person had posted in this group, a question about, has anyone gone to be tested for diabetes, found out, told that they have diabetes, and then are just given like metformin, but are not told how to eat well or how to check their blood sugars or anything like that. And there was many people that were just told, they go to the doctor's office, they're told, oh, this is, you're now diabetic, here's a script for metformin or whatever, go along your way. They're not even giving them a testing kit, right? They're not even giving them a blood glucose kit. And I'm just like, I'm like, wow. I mean, the amount of people I have seen going, I don't understand this. And I tell people, and yes, there's a lot of stuff that is very overwhelming and you may not understand it. You can learn. Okay. You can question and trust your gut. I'm not saying be paranoid. Don't let your anxiety take over, but you should be able to learn and take proactive control over your life. I know that it's hard, but it's something that we need to do. And a lot of people are paralyzed into inaction, and we need to stop that. I know that it gets to be really overwhelming in this life. Um, there's things that are happening all the time, but we need to learn how to question. We need to stop when somebody is gaslighting us, whether it is an authority figure or a friend or family member. Basically, kind of say, "Oh, you're just, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. You're, oh, you're, don't fear monger. Don't this, that, And you're like, "Wait, there's something in my life. I'm like, I don't know. I don't trust this information. Figure out how to find out about it, you know? Be your own advocate. That's the thing about this diabetes group. It's like people are just passive sheep and they're just like, well, my doctor said this and I'm just going to take this medication. Instead of actually speaking up, being informed, understanding your body, demanding, being an advocate. And that goes for being in your neighborhood too. Be an advocate. This is where you live. You should be an advocate saying, hey, no, I'm sorry. You're telling me that it's safe. And look at the fish are dead in this creek. You know, I mean, it's a no-brainer, people. Like, speak up and quit allowing, government officials or corporate officials to basically control what you see, feel, and everything. Okay. You need to speak up. Okay. Quit being gaslighted by these people because they have their own interest. And basically, that is money. It's to basically protect their costs and their interests. They don't care about you. You are expendable. And I know that that's really harsh. I know that that's a really, really harsh statement, but it's true. Okay. And sometimes we have to put our big girl panties or big boy panties on, or big boy underwear, and stand up. And I know it's hard, you know? This I'm talking from, from experience. I know that it's hard, and, I deal with anxiety, but at some point we have to do this, and I just wanted to put my words out today. They may not land on anybody's ears. I do what I can. But, that's basically, uh, my thoughts about that. Maybe nothing will happen, but it just I figure more people in the choir, we've gotta stop being so passive and expecting, "Oh, well, this president will do this. They'll change everything," or "This politician will change everything," or "Person will change everything." It's up to us. We collectively have to be informed, learn about stuff, trust our gut, uh, push back, Um, and I'm not saying, get extreme or violent or, you know, understand the information, you know? And if you're wrong and you end up being wrong, you have to work on saying, "Hey, wow, I'm sorry. I was wrong. That was wrong information. Let me correct that." And I know that's really hard too. We don't want to always, we don't ever want to be wrong, right? Like, so it's like I look at this, the situation of the last 3 years. I had posted something, and I guess um, I'm having to be very cryptic about it because this channel could be demonetized or this channel could be silenced or they could basically shadow ban me, right? Which means basically they're lowering my algorithms down to down to the bottom, right? But I had posted something in April of 2020 and got pushback from a friend and a family member about this situation. And I was told, and it was just, I won't even say it. You figure it out. And they pushed back and said that I was fear mongering and that I was ignorant and uninformed. Well, fast forward to today, that story that I had posted in April of 2020, now it's acceptable. There's been a Vanity Fair article about it. People are actually saying, "Oh, yeah, that's." And I had a conversation just yesterday with somebody who said, "Well, what does it matter?" Basically. Like, why is that an important issue? And I said to them, or I was trying to say to them, I said, it's important to understand what the root causes of things are because you this is all tied up with worldview. It doesn't matter. We're just dealing with this now. It's kind of like, why do we have the root causes of we just have to clean this thing up, blah, blah, blah. But is it going to happen again? Do we really understand the consequences of these actions? And so that's why I was really kind of harping on that one original issue, because I think it isn't really important. And I think, if you're wrong, you're wrong. And I know people don't like to be wrong. They want to have their own views, and they don't believe that it really matters. That it is what it is. But that situation from 3 years ago, it's problematic because it'll happen again if we don't take measures to be informed and have consent over what is being done and why is it being done. And I think that generally the population of the planet is in varying levels of consciousness and intelligence. And there's this big push to talk about misinformation or disinformation and are you being manipulated and everything. And yeah, you're right. But keep in mind that big agencies and governments always engage in disinformation and misinformation. And so it's not just some crazy person in a basement. It is the big guys, right? It's the big people. It's the people on top that are spreading a lot of this stuff too. And we're gaslighted into accepting what they tell us and that we should just, um, that that we should just accept them because they're the ones who have the degrees. They're the ones who have a PhD or an MD behind their name, or they're the ones that have the white coat on, or they're the ones who are the politicians and so they know and you don't, and you're ignorant, and you're stupid, and you really don't know. And, trust the doctors, trust the scientists. And it's kind of like it's really frustrating. And I got pushed back one time on my group that I run. I said, you can be just as informed as a doctor, if not more. And people were like, no, you can't. You don't have a degree, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, you know, does that mean I think you should go and be a doctor? No, but I know more about certain things than my own doctor does. Okay. Fact. Um, and I've tested that. So I don't want people to be intimidated or feel like, well, I don't have access to that. You know, I think that the window is closing, unfortunately, with regards to the internet and how we get information. I think that we had a really great opportunity several years ago um, to be able to access good quality information and understand how to research it. And I think that window's closing. I think that with algorithms and AI and all this other kind of stuff, we're being shoveled back into a state of disempowerment and just being able to get information that's accurate, understanding how to read a study, understanding how to think about information, understanding how to debate, understand about logical fallacies, understand about all that stuff. You know, that's critical that we have to do that. We just have to do that. Um, there's no excuse. You can't use that. Well, I can't, you have to start doing it. And it's something that you have to train your mind to do and quit allowing people to gaslight you and make you feel like you're just crazy, right? I feel like that happens so much. Like, oh, you're just crazy. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's fine. It's blah, blah, blah. That happens so often. And it's just that's just my call to arms right now. It's like, don't let people make you feel crazy. Understand yourself, understand how your mind works. If you do have anxiety, is it a rational anxiety or is it an irrational anxiety? Or is there something valid? I think it's always be better to be safe than sorry in initial stages of any kind of a disaster. Obviously, take immediate effect. I mean, you have got the Bhopal accident, and people died in the middle of this night. They suffocated to death and they were burned. And it's like these companies just do this. And this is another thing that was just horrific because this is a mindset. Someone interviewed Mother Teresa after the Bhopal accident. And if you don't know about the Bhopal accident, Google that. You should be able to still look this stuff up. And they said, "Well, what do you think they should be done?" She's like, "I think they should forgive." Basically, forgive Union Carbide, who basically caused this disaster and killed thousands of people. She's like, "Forgive." You know, basically to be passive, to just forgive. Don't fight. Don't speak up. Don't fight back. Don't question. Just trust us. And I think we need to stop. I think we need to be able to speak up and we need to talk about this stuff. And yes, there's a time when you have to hand the baton off to somebody so you can do self care and to take care of yourself and take a rest. I haven't been watching a lot of mainstream TV news because it's hard. Like I go through and I'm like, I just want to watch fun stuff right now. We all do. You have to take care of yourself because you can get burned out. And that's not healthy. And there's enough of us that we should be able to all pick up the baton and and take up the fight. And then the other person, taps out, comes back. So don't feel like you alone have to do this all by yourself, but it does start with you. Understanding information, understanding how to learn how to use your computer, how to understand how to, use um, media in a responsible way, learning how to find out information, connecting with other people's, talking, learning how to identify, learn about the scientific methods so you can actually test and measure things for yourself instead of trusting a study. You know, understand how to read a study, understand those things. Some of that stuff may be still out of reach for myself as well, but there are ways that we can get this information and we can connect instead of just being very passive receivers of information from corporate and governmental sources. Okay? That's my soapbox today. So, anyway, if you live in the tri-state region, in the Ohio River Basin, start kind of paying attention to things in your area. I would suggest if you live closer along don't let any livestock drink out of the water. Don't swim in the water until further notice. Uh, and just make sure. I mean, unfortunately, I think it's too late for that, and, I mean, it's winter, so I don't think people are gonna be swimming in the lake, and eventually I don't know if eventually I mean, there's probably other tons of stuff we go, "Well, there's tons of other stuff in the rivers too, so, gross." Like, I remember growing up, and I used to swim in the Ohio River. We used to go water skiing on the Ohio River. I'm like, "Ew, gross." Like, ugh, why would I ever do I mean, even, like, the thought of, like, swimming in the ocean, which I do, but it's just kind of like it's just I just and I just saw a documentary about Fukushima and about the earthquake, and they dumped I mean, talk about another event that happened that people were gaslighted over. They dumped all that nuclear waste. I mean, they had 3 of the, reactors meltdown, full meltdown. And they dumped that. I mean, you were hearing about it for a while. That all ended up in the Pacific Ocean, which ended up going over to California. And then there was another there was another uh, post that I saw somewhere like in the last several days about a two-headed shark. And the person that had posted it said, "Oh, there's an increasing rate of two-headed sharks, and no one knows why." That's what that said. I said and everybody in the comments is like, "What do you mean no one knows why?" Of course they know why. It's freaking because the oceans are freaking polluted with nuclear pollution and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, come on. I mean, the pollution and stuff from the BP oil spill. I mean, it's like that's like such oh wow, look, ooh, we don't understand this. Look, what's causing this? Like quit being dense. Like, you know what's causing it. We all know this planet is so polluted that our waterways are so polluted. And yes, it can be utterly devastating and paralyzing. Okay. And that's unfortunate. We go, well, whatever. I mean, I mean, there's another really good movie that if you're into being depressed and nihilistic right now, um, oh, it had um movie. It- no, on. Dark Waters. Okay, go watch Dark Waters. That had uh, Ruffalo. Uh, really, really good movie. Sad, depressing. Makes you feel really kind of like oh. But basically, it is a true story. This gentleman, Robert Bilott, who is an attorney in Cincinnati, Ohio, he worked for a big corporate attorney firm that represented big like chemical companies, right? And a childhood neighbor of his had come to him and said, because he remembers, like, oh, he's a big lawyer, maybe he can help us. Because he lived in an area and his cows were dying. His cows were dead along this creek area that they were drinking from. And and everything, it was just disgusting, right? And like not a mile away or whatever, there was this big chemical plant. I think it was one of the chemical plants that were created Teflon. Okay. And so that's what that movie is about. It's basically uncovering that and fighting it. The unfortunate thing is that they said, well, everybody on in the planet has these forever chemicals in our system, that every single person. But it's a good movie. I highly recommend it. Um, and I don't know when in our lifetimes this will ever change. If we'll ever really have, if we'll ever see anything. I don't have children, but you may. So, not saying get paralyzed, but there are things you can do. We can speak up. And yeah, it's going to involve, I know a lot of times companies go, well, you use this, and this, and those products use these chemicals. And yeah, and it's like, and why? I don't understand. I grew up, I didn't, I get a computer. There's a lot of chemicals in a computer. There's chips, there's minerals, there's things that are um, coltan in your cell phones. It is. It's really overwhelming. And I don't have an answer like other than if you totally gave up everything and lived in a cave and gave up all technology, but that's not realistic now, is it? Um, I don't know. I don't have an answer. All I can say is just push back because we can have choices. We can make things better. One final thing, again, that's kind of related to this whole feeling of being um, helpless. Okay, is the issue of diabetes in this country. I live in an area that has a lot of cornfields and soy. Okay, and they do crop rotation, and so every year you see corn and soy, corn and soy, corn and soy. And I've always wondered, like, why is there so much corn and soy? Like, you look in any processed food product, anything that you pick up, they will always have corn and soy products, among other stuff, including GMO products. And so, I think we've even got it worse than some places in the European Union, quite frankly. It's ridiculous. And it is troubling because there's things like we have high fructose corn syrup and things that, why do we have high fructose corn syrup in those things? Or why do we have soy in so many of our products? It's because we have an industrialized uh, food system, and we have a farming industry, corporate farming industry that basically grows these big things. They make money off of it. It's all subsidized. Okay, so that's one thing that really being in tune and trying to figure out how to change the farm bill. I remember that when I was doing permaculture, and we were talking about the farm bill was up for debate in the government at that time. And at that time, we're like, okay, well, where are food subsidies going? Because the farm bill contains foods that go to food banks, schools, low income people, that kind of stuff. That all is related and all tied up into that. And then you see the rates of diabetes in this country and other health conditions. And if you go to a food bank, you look on like the canned foods that they've got, especially like a can of tomato pasta or tomato soup. They have high fructose corn syrup and uh, soy on a lot of these products. And a lot of people who have really bad diabetes are lower income people. And you just kind of, eat, they've got potatoes, they've got rice. I mean, stuff that isn't really good that's exacerbating this health issue. And so we really need to, and then we wonder why our healthcare costs are so high. Why are our health, I mean, we're just contributing to the problem. We just keep dumping this stuff in. People ingest it because they're like, well, I got to have food, but it's not food that's making them healthy. They get health problems, and then they end up, causing our care costs to increase. And then we're all shamed for being overweight or having health problems. Well, we're not taking care of ourselves. It's a vicious cycle, and people need to push back against this stuff. It's ridiculous. But anyway, all right. Well, that's all I had this morning. And yeah, pay attention. And if you see something, say something. All right. Thanks. All right.